Okay. Surprise. We went vertical with it. It's fall, it's autumn, and I think I'd like to do another autumn painting. And I think I enjoyed using the knife so much on the last one, I'd like to do it again. Recently did a study, and what was that? Oh, that was a 12-12, I guess. I'd like to do something similar to it. Again, walking through the woods, I always love that feeling, all the sensations, you know, that have to do with that. But I'm just going to lay a couple of thoughts down here and see what comes of it. This stuff may or may not stay, I don't know. We'll see. But let's say this is an unorthodox way of doing things, okay? Well, I guess you've gathered that by now. Let's say our horizon is about there. That's the far shore. That's the water. Let's see, we have a trunk. Our main tree trunk about here. And we're going to come not off the canvas. You know, in the last one I had a bunch of bush in the foreground to set it off very dark. I think I'd like to start dark, but just with forest floor, and then we'll work lighter as we go further away. Another trunk maybe. Okay. Something else here. So yes, this is negative space. That will be sky, that would be distant shore, that would be water. That's going to be obliterated. I just wanted to sort of keep that in mind. It's probably a little too central. And yes, I know what you're thinking about the possible shape. We won't worry about that. Okay. Something like that. Yeah, I think we'll put something smaller in here as well. And something fairly close to it. Small again. A hint of a trunk there. I don't really want any of these trunk bottoms to line up on the painting. I want them all to be staggered because we want to have the feeling of looking down and across. You know, we're not going to focus on looking down, but I want that feeling. I'd like in this painting, much of the weight is actually going to sit on top, which is a bit unusual. Usually I go quite dark to the bottom, or put it this way, heavier towards the bottom. But we'll see how that works out. I don't know yet. Do I want an evergreen in there? I'm not convinced that I do, actually. See, now we have formed an indicated line, but it goes off to the right. I think that I would prefer to have an indicated line aiming up towards our opening, if we even end up with an opening. I do not know. Again, I'm just not sure about that yet. See, that changes the angle now, right? We have these two, so we're pointing. It's fairly dead center. That's okay. We can pull it one way or the other with our colors. But these two, still looking too much like gate posts. Okay, that's probably a little better. Okay, now we're going to grab a brush. We're going to grab some raw umber and some ultramarine blue. And I'm not going to get too fussy about it. It's another painting I would like to make a little looser than usual. Of course, that's always my attempt, isn't it? And how often do I succeed? Well, not that often, actually. Not as often as I would like. Make that a little bit wider. I like that branch, okay. I need to not forget to put a little irregularity on that, on these trunks, you know. They're not telephone poles, they're birches or poplars. Even though the washing, of course, is very dark, I'd like to maintain that notion that that's the kind of tree they are. Try to avoid having our trunks be too straight. I think that's all right. Do I want to shorten that at all? Just going to mix up a little more of this umber and ultramarine blue. Okay. Let's go to there with that. Something like that. And yeah, that's very close to this. That's very close to this. I don't like that spacing. What if we were to lay in something about here? And oh, that's a little too lined up with this one. Okay, we'll sort those things out later. This will be the underside of the canopy. All right. Now, those are our basic lines in place. Do I want to maintain that? Still don't know. But I would like to have a bit of foliage right there. I think that'd be okay. And I think something here as well. Maybe a little bit there. We need, we need a bit of that. That's what you see in nature. You see all these little clusters of leaves still hanging on by a thread sometimes, and it gives the painting kind of a, oops, that's lined up with that. I don't want that. A bit of a dappled look when you're painting in the colors later. Okay, for the moment we'll leave it at that. My wash in here is going to be much rougher than usual. Okay. Just a touch of ultramarine blue that was still sitting in the brush, and then I just added some burnt sienna in there with it. Keeping it a bit dark for the moment. Same. Oops, too dark there. All right. Making sure to go around the shoulder of the canvas a little bit. I don't want white showing. I know it's not a big deal. Some people don't care at all, but I do. So, okay, there's some dabs of foliage. There's an indicated line here, points to here. Another one there, points to there. The bottoms seem to work reasonably to do the same thing. Now how about if we were to take how about if we were to take some ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson. Very dark stuff. We'll start with that at the bottom of the painting. I think the color theme of the day, well, part of it, maybe the base of it, I don't know, will be working with blues and purples and complementary oranges and yellows. Now I know that's a pretty safe statement to make because obviously those are fall colors. Autumn colors. That's what the painting is about. Those make for great bedfellows. Those are just perfect. The brush that I'm using is a little bit too nice for doing this. So I think what I'm going to do is just scrub it dry. I'm not scrub it, but see, I'm not doing this. If I were to apply pressure and do this, I'll be breaking bristles like crazy. So I'll go fairly flat when I'm doing this. I'll clean this out in a minute. I'll use this old thing. This is more like it. Okay, back to our ultramarine blue and our alizarin crimson, and we'll take a little bit of white this time. This isn't going to be a painting, another painting where I have everything kind of outlined. It's not going to be the appearance of it when it's done. The last one, the one like this, the autumn, the 12 by 12 inch autumn that I did several videos back, also was not like that, you know, it was a study. Let's just say this is the larger version of it, but it's not because this, the composition on this one is going to be a bit different. They're similar, the two are definitely similar. But similar and the same are definitely separated by a few degrees. Okay, a little more ultramarine blue, a little more alizarin crimson, a little more white. Going from our ultramarine blue, slowly going more in the direction of alizarin crimson now on this third little mixing pile that I've made. It's slightly redder. Still much darker than the painting is going to end up. Bring it to the bottom of that trunk. And up the side here a little bit. You know, I'm doing this cradling at the bottom a little bit to oppose, but at the same time support the hump in the middle. Okay, so they're opposing each other, but in that sense they're working together. It's not always how it works. Sometimes you want to repeat the same curves on the top and the bottom, but this time that's what we're going to do. Now, do I want to look out of those bushes or not? Do I just want a large decorative thing covered with color, you know, and not worrying about a sky? It's entirely possible, because I like that effect too, also. Okay, I'm just going to keep working my way up. We'll decide that in a minute. Okay, now we're just with the remnant of a little bit of ultramarine blue that's in my wash-in pile. I've gone a little more red, obviously. I'm not going to add white. I'm going to add yellow ochre because we're going to warm up that red. See, still a very low value, but it's a little warmer hue. Yeah, glad I switched brushes. Sometimes I just forget and keep going, and then by the time a painting like this is washed in, then my fairly new brush is a little kind of damaged actually, a little too worn out, a little more than I like. Whereas this one, see, I don't need to worry about doing this because the brush has already reached the point where it's sort of splayed, you know, the bristles are splayed and they're no longer holding their form, so no longer an issue. This is just my spare tire. It'll limp me to the edge of what I want to do. You know what I might do? I might not worry about what's going to go in the background yet. Maybe I'll just keep raising my my chroma and the value slightly and stay with these reds. These kind of dirtyish. Fading towards the light type colors. I like it. It has kind of an intimate feel so far by having it this dark towards the bottom. What do I want to do? I think maybe I'll just go right up to there. Okay, you know, that is actually now that I need to cut in around some trees, and I don't have to be very accurate, but the brush I was just using is so scruffy, there's no way I can do it with any degree of accuracy at all. So what we'll do is we'll go back to this brush that's still in not too bad a shape. So we can get some decent lines in there, reasonably controlled at least. Okay, now just some yellow ochre. And yes, it will be contaminated by the pile. I'm not worried about it. I wouldn't want it to be pure yellow ochre because I would be immediately putting yellow ochre over this white canvas. I'd be immediately jumping up in value and chroma so high it'd become a little more difficult to keep it organized later. Put it this way, I would end up with such high values in chromas right away that, you know, how do you go over that and make it pop? You don't, because you've already popped it. Maybe you're popping to the end. Yeah, let's just ignore that distant shore. Let's just ignore that idea for the moment. One step at a time. That's the beauty of making up a scene. Deciding you don't have to follow anything completely is that you have the freedom to change it whenever you like. And that's most often how I operate, unless I'm out plein air painting. Even then you still change some things. more yellow ochre. You know, we're still getting lighter. Still getting higher value. And if I want to add a trunk or add some foliage or add a branch or anything else, I can do that because I'm just using paint thinner right now, or turpentine, or mineral spirits, or, you know, pick your flavor. It's all good. There are a lot of things you can use. And I'm going to let it set. I'm going to let it dry before I really do much more. So there'll be no problem with suffering from too much of the wet in wet effect. Don't forget, I'm planning on this to become a painting. I'm planning on using a painting knife on this. So, although when you use a knife, your mistakes can be far larger. The knife has the great ability to cover with a thick layer of paint over anomalies, over things that you don't like, things that you decide you're unhappy about. You know, I'm not going to put any more design in here. I'm just gonna go right with the yellow ochre right to the top right now. Frankly, if the painting stays loose enough, I don't even need more of a drawing in here. Might become a little more abstract. It's fine. It's fine. Well, I should say more impressionistic. It's not going to be an abstract, but I love impressionism. It's not all spelled out for you. You know, the viewer gets to say, this looks like that, or that could be this. You know, without so much latitude. You know, so much abstract or non-representational, well, by definition, of course, it doesn't represent anything, but too abstract, basically anybody can do it. That's not to say that there aren't good abstracts, there certainly are. Okay, I went a little thin up here, a little bit thin. So, I'm going to go back in. Paint's a little thicker now. Not so much paint thinner in it. I'll make it a little more opaque. Especially the undersides here. Okay. I think I like what we have sitting there so far. Kind of interesting. I like the color combination. Let me just rattle the camera here for a moment and square off with the shot. Whoops. You see some canvas. Not just raw canvas poking through, but in areas, you know, the thinner has really thinned off the paint. But I haven't gone too translucent. In some places I've kept it fairly opaque, you know, hinting at textures and light touching different things. I don't know if these trunks will end up being dark. You know, maybe they will go more in the direction of poplar or birch. Maybe not. We'll decide when the time comes. Okay, that has to dry. Which means we will talk to you a little later.